This video is about making the feature ring for this triangulation bowl. So I'm about to start a new bowl. I'm calling it Triangulation, and it's going to be based on triangles. This is basically what I'm going for. So a feature ring, which I'm going to show next. Some rows at the bottom with some triangles in the corner of every other segment and every segment on the bottom. And then some really big triangles on top going into a couple of solid rings. So that's the concept I'm going for. This is the pattern I've kind of locked in on. So the first step was to measure these triangles and measure the height. The smaller one is 1 3/8 inches tall. And I'm going to cut strips exactly that thickness, and they're going to be, all the grains running this way and the cuts are going to be on my miter saw. The taller triangle has the same angle, but is a right triangle, and it's almost 3 inches tall, about 2 7/8. I am going to cut strips of wood 3 inches wide to cut those triangles. I have cut all the strips. The next step is to check the angle, measure the angle. So it looks like it's about a 27-degree cut, and I am going to check that by using a piece of scrap wood and put it on the picture. Grab a piece of scrap wood out of the pile and cut a 27-degree angle on it. And it looks to be dead on. So it looks perfect. So I will go ahead and cut. I am going to make one of these squares just to make sure everything fits right. And then if that works, I'll cut all the rest of them. Okay, so I cut out this first square and I've put it together and it fits pretty darn well. I am going to try gluing this up just to the one red triangle and making sure everything fits tight, and then I'll trim this other side or disc sand this other side, and it should fit perfectly. And if so, I'm ready for production cutting. So overnight I glued this one together, and it glued together perfectly. I did a real light disc sanding on this edge this morning, and it's a perfect fit. So I am ready to go to production cutting. Stop block set up so that I can just flip this piece over, run it up against the stop block, cut it down, and it will cut just on that corner to give me a 1 3/8 inch high triangle. So I'll demonstrate cutting a couple. Then flip the board over and do it again. So I'm going to repeat that process for all the triangles I need, plus a couple. That way I can glue them all up, at least the first half of it I can glue up tonight, and then disc sand and glue the other one on tomorrow. So I've adjusted the stop block, and it's where I want to cut these, and I am cutting them actually about 1/4 inch long. The actual length doesn't really matter because I'm going to be trimming these later to put the 15-degree miter on it to make them segments so that I can make a ring out of it. But that's what I've got it set up to do, and I'll demonstrate a couple of cuts. It's interesting that the stop block is working out perfectly. I haven't done the math to see if that makes sense, but I guess it does. So I'm making a cut on both ends at 90 degrees, and then moving the saw to 27 degrees, making those 2 cuts, and then moving it back. Production cutting's done. I have all the pieces I need to assemble all 12 of the squares. So next step will be glue up, and I will show that in the house. So I'm ready for glue up, and I'm going to use Titebond Quick and Thick because it sets fast enough that I can get by without clamps. And I've got half a dozen of each color piece out. I've got my pattern in front of me, and I've got my big triangles over here. I've got more small triangles in the peanut cans. But I'm going to demonstrate gluing this one up, and I'll just show one, and all the rest of them are going to be the same. Now I'm pressing for 15 to 20 seconds. Get ready to bring this one in. The alignment of this last piece, I'm really just trying to line it up with this one down here, but it doesn't have to be perfect because ultimately I'm going to disc sand this side and this side. So that's the glue up for one piece. Tomorrow I will disc sand that so that this one can go on. I am ready to glue up the other half of all these. They all have been disc sanded. So the alignment I'm going for is anywhere in the middle. I can disc sand or trim off the excess on either side. So that's what I'm going for. So I'll just show the glue up on one, and again I'm using Quick and Thick glue. These are all glued together and they're ready to trim. Before I can put them on the miter saw and do the trimming, I need to have a good back and a good bottom. I'm probably going to go bottom and top to be flat, not necessarily finished. But I need to be able to sit it on the miter saw over here and be flat against the fence and flat against the bottom, so that I get a good 15-degree cut down the sides. So this is the pattern I'm going with, and every other one is upside down or right side up. The colors all go together pretty well. So I have all the bottoms trimmed, and other than this piece I had to remake, they're all pretty close to the same height. Now it's time to mark them for trimming. I am going to leave 1/8 of an inch on each side of these triangles, because otherwise with the angle going in, as I turn in, I'll be blunting this corner. And then I'm going to use the bottom edge as my good side to mark them. So since this is the face, the cuts are going to be like that and like that. I am just going to cut the right side of each one of these pieces, and then I'll use a stop block to make the other one. So really I only need to mark the one side. Okay, I have all these marked to cut the right side. I have this set up. It's not a stop block, but it's a hold down clamp. So I've got to line up the blade on the line. Again, I'm trying to be outside, just outside of the line. And engage the hold down clamp. Make sure the bottom is flush and cut away. So I moved this stop block over and put a piece of wood behind it to get it out further so I could use it as a stop block. And it is set up to cut the right length. I used the one I marked both sides for to line up the stop block. So the rest of them are ready to cut. Okay, I cut all the pieces and they are in the sequence they're supposed to be in. Now it's time to check the fit. I got a good fit on the first try. It's amazing. So I still need to put in some pieces of wingay in between these. I'm going to cut 1/4 inch strips to put in there. I've set the wedgie sled at 90 degrees and I've got the stop block set for roughly 1/4 inch. So I'm going to try to cut 12 strips of the wingay. Okay, so I should be able to put these in. These all have the grain direction running the same as the base ring. Okay, there's one feature ring ready to glue up. I won't bother showing the glue up.